No matter what stage of life you are in, one thing that should never stop is growing. There is always room to grow and be better. We want to share your story and celebrate your journey so far. This is the Grow Podcast, where we share growth stories and hope to inspire people towards their personal growth. Hi guys, welcome to the Grow Podcast. I mean, I kind of feel like we're getting there. We've had 1, we've had 2, we've had 3, we've had 4. I mean, it's been really good. You're wondering who I'm talking to is nobody else than co-host Jennifer Jones.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How was today?
It was busy, but it was good.
Yeah, had a busy one too.
Mm-hmm.
We always have special people on the show. So you're like, he always says we have someone special today on the show. Listen, it is what it is. Yeah, because we always have special people on the show. But I kind of feel like we stepped it up today.
We did, for sure.
Because we have someone like extra special, Candessa Tehee. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's it. Right, yeah? You got it.
Candessa Tehee. I'll just read a little bit. Candessa Tehee serves as an associate professor in the Department of Cherokee and Indigenous Studies and as coordinator of Cherokee Language Education and Cherokee Cultural Studies programs at NSU. That's Northeastern State University in Tahlequah. Before you joined NSU, you served as the executive director of the Cherokee Heritage Center in Park Hill, Oklahoma.
Yes.
And as manager of the Cherokee Language program at Cherokee Nation. You earned a doctorate in anthropology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's really smart.
Yeah.
From the University of Oklahoma, and now focuses on Cherokee and Indigenous language revitalization, Southeastern Indigenous art, and the politics of Cherokee identity.
Yes.
You are also a textile artist
Mm-hmm.
and recognized as a Cherokee national treasure for skill and artistry in oblique and warp face finger weaving.
Yes.
That's interesting. You were raised in Cherokee Nation, descends from the low-cost Tehee, Pumpkin, and McLemore families.
Yes, that's all right.
It's a blend of all of those families. That's interesting. That's really cool. Well, when I said we had an extra special guest, there you have it. It's none other than the one and only Candessa Tehee. And there's one more thing that wasn't actually here. You are also running for the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council District 2.
Yes, I am a candidate for Cherokee Nation Tribal Council District 2. We had our first election. There was a field of 7, and we narrowed down to 2 candidates for the runoff, and the runoff will take place July 24th.
And you were one of the 2.
There are 2 of us left standing. Yes,
and it's you and Slover, right?
Yes, a gentleman from Briggs named Bobby Slover.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, but I think you're better.
I hope the voters agree.
Yeah. Definitely.
We'll come to that. We'll talk about the campaign. And we'll talk about all of that. But first of all, we just want to know, who is Candessa Tehee?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. My oldest is 20, and she is a student at the University of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
She is majoring in economics, and I'm really proud of her.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
She is going to be doing an internship this summer. And she's actually doing 2 internships. One will be at the Bank of Cherokee County with the owner, Susan Plum, who I believe is the only Indigenous woman in the United States who owns a bank.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I just love Susan. She's a good friend. And then my middle daughter, or my middle child, who is my youngest daughter, she is going to be 18 soon, and she is starting her senior year at Sequoia High School next year.
And that's the
blue-eyed one.
The blue-eyed one, right? This is the oldest, right?
Yeah. Oldest, yeah.
Yeah. Jolie is my oldest, and then Kelsey is her English name, and she is also going to be the drum major for the Pride of Sequoia marching band.
Wow.
She has been in marching band, in high school marching band, since she's been in the 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
So she is really capping her band career, I think, really nicely as drum major.
Yeah.
And then my youngest son, who
That's my boy.
Yes, he is. You were his soccer coach, and now he's 13. He's going in the 8th grade, and he's 5'10".
Oh, wow.
So he is the biggest one in the family now.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm a mom. I'm a Cherokee woman also. I've been born and raised to be really proud to be Cherokee. I'm really involved in Cherokee culture, Cherokee community, and Cherokee language.
Yeah.
I've really dedicated my life and my career to Cherokee language. I would not call myself a fluent speaker, but I know enough language to be able to teach the basics to beginners. And so I can, do kind of sort of basic conversational teaching.
Yeah.
And I'm just really proud to be able to teach the next generation of Cherokee learners in the classroom at NSU.
Yeah. It's and I know that in my final class, my MBA program, I was supposed to do just one more class, and I decided to do I can't remember what it was called now, but it was something around Cherokee Nation history and stuff. And I remember I came to you.
Oh yeah?
Do you remember?
I kind of remember. It's been a while.
We had it was an assignment we had, and we were asked to go to any Cherokee Nation person and kind of ask questions and find out about the history of the tribe. And the reason why I took that course in the first place was because I just came to the US and coming to Tahlequah, I heard a lot about the tribe, the tribal people, Cherokee Nation and stuff. So I was just like, what is... I didn't really understand, what the tribe was about. And I came to you in your office.
I remember now.
In your office, we sat down and you basically just gave me a little bit of a history of the tribe and all that stuff. And it's... To me, I just feel like it's something you have always been passionate about. And it shows, even on Facebook, with what you do with art and stuff. This is something that is in you for real.
Yeah. And what led me to become an artist was, so the finger woven belts that people wear, oftentimes they wear them when they dance. Yeah. As part of sort of the traditional Cherokee style of dancing. Yeah. And I didn't know anyone who made them. And the only woman who I knew that made them, Maddie Drum, she had passed away, I think, when I was in high school. And so when I wanted a belt, I didn't know anyone who made them. And so I picked up a little book. It was called, I think it's called like Indian Finger Weaving and it's by a woman named Susan Power. Yeah. And it has a little description in there. So I taught myself how to make belts, how to finger weave. Yeah. Because I didn't know anybody who was still making them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have anybody to go to. And, I've always been kind of motivated and had some initiative. Yeah. So I just started making belts. Yeah. And in the beginning I would give them away. Yeah. But for me, when I make a belt, I usually think about the person who it's going to. And for me, it's like almost like meditation, like a prayer. I think about that person. I want God to bring them good things. I want them to, when they wear this, I want them to feel good. I want them to, I really believe that if you put good out into the world, then that's 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 how we should all be.
Yeah.
And in Cherokee culture, we believe that we're supposed to love everybody, and but we're also supposed to like everybody, and we're supposed to treat everybody as sacred. Wow. And so when I'm making something for somebody, I think that's when I think about those things most intensely. Yeah. And so hopefully they feel that come through when they have what I made for them. Yeah. And now I do sell stuff. In the beginning, I would just give it away. Yeah. And but each piece takes anywhere from if I make a pair of earrings, I can probably get those done in like 10 to 15 hours. But
10 to 15 hours for one piece?
For a pair of earrings, yeah. But
well, you should sell that, man. You shouldn't give that away for free.
Yeah, definitely.
But if I make a belt, and the belts they take a lot longer, and they can be really intricate depending on the patterns, or if I put beads in and use the beads to make a pattern, and those can take anywhere from 20 up to 80 hours. Wow. Yeah.
Well, did you make the earrings you're wearing now?
No, I didn't make these. I bought these. I went to the Kingfisher family reunion and gospel singing. Yeah. And there was a woman who was there, and she was selling these, and the colors were just gorgeous.
They're beautiful.
I just love the colors.
Yeah.
And I was there with my friend Matt Anderson. Yeah. And I said, I love these. And I went to the car to get my money. And when I came back, he said, "Here you go." And he had got them for me. So it was really nice
really
of him.
Cool.
But I didn't get the name of the artist. And
Oh, wow.
She did a beautiful job.
Yeah. Okay, before we go into because I still have things to talk about, the things that you do for the tribe and with the tribe and your passion, I want to touch on something about you. And the reason why I'm touching on this is, again, to hopefully inspire someone with your story. Mm-hmm. I know that you are a single parent.
Yeah.
And you've done fantastic, not just raising the kids, but to also get to where you are at this time, career-wise, and even with, it's politics, right?
Yeah.
Right. Politics-wise too. Mm-hmm. How long have you been a single parent for?
Well, let's see. So my ex-husband and I, we got married in 2000, and then in 2010 we decided to divorce. Yeah. And we were living in Ada at the time, and that he's Chickasaw, and that's where he's from. Yeah. And he got a good job with Chickasaw Nation, and so that's why we ended up moving there. And then in 2010, when we decided to divorce, I told him I want to go home, and Tahlequah's home for me. Yeah. And also, I had the 3 kids, and I wanted them to be part of the Cherokee Nation immersion school. And because Cherokee language is really important to me, Cherokee culture is really important. So I was a graduate assistant at the University of Oklahoma at the time, and I was teaching online. So I was able to. So
a graduate assistant. So you were on your master's or your
PhD?
On your PhD, okay.
Yeah, I was on my PhD. Okay. And so I was able to move to Tahlequah, and oh gosh, I was trying to think. I wasn't making very much money, but we moved back to Tahlequah into a little apartment, and
you and the 3 kids, right?
Me and the 3 kids, we moved into a little apartment, and it was kind of a circle of life moment for me, because I grew up as the oldest of 4 with a single mother, and so it really took me back to when my mom would be in class, and I was watching the 3 kids at home as the oldest of 4. Yeah. And then I moved back to Tahlequah into an apartment with my 3 kids. So, but I was there independent. I'm on my own 2 feet. And, it was me and the kids, but it was a real circle of life moment. Yeah. And then, I was hired at Cherokee Nation, at the immersion school in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, and I was hired as a clerk. Now, I had a master's in education when I got hired as a clerk, making a little over $10 an hour with a master's. But I wanted to be in language, and I felt like I needed to pay my dues to be there at Cherokee Nation and to show people I'm really dedicated to Cherokee language. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And within a couple of years, I had been promoted to manager of the Cherokee Language Program, and then to executive director at the Cherokee Heritage Center, which was another full circle moment, because that was the very first job I ever had. When I was 15, and I was a tour guide there at what used to be called the Ancient Village.
Wow. And so it kind of looks like all the jobs you've had have been around Cherokee Nation.
I would say in my adult life, my professional career, the only job I have had that was not really around Cherokee language or it was still with Indian country, because I was a program coordinator at East Central University for the Tribal Police Training Program.
This is still kind of like
right.
But see, we were still working with Indian country law enforcement, which could be municipal, state, federal, county, and we were still working with even Cherokee law enforcement, Cherokee Nation marshals at that time too.
I think one thing Daniel doesn't or may not know is that our Cherokee language is very important, because we do have a lot of first language Cherokee speakers that are passing on.
Yes.
And so that language is getting lost almost, like the Cherokee language. And so that's why I see her passion in making sure that language continues on and, stuff like that. So it's definitely.
Yeah. What you just said now, the class I took, we had, there was a data that was given to us. I should have researched that. I can't remember now, but it's like a really low number of Cherokee language speakers that are still left. And I remember very well that class. Even the ones still left were older. So it's kind of like some years down the line, they might pass, and there was a risk of getting to a point where there'll probably be no more speakers of the language. I'm coming from a different culture. I feel like that's a really big issue. Languages, I think it's the core part of culture.
I agree.
I feel like it's the biggest part of culture, and if that goes, it's almost hard to do anything else. We'll probably have the big Cherokee events, but it'll all be done in English, and you have younger generations that will just do all the whole Cherokee stuff, but all in English language.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. So there hasn't really been a organized full census of Cherokee speakers. However, there was a really, I would say, reliable count that took place at the initiative of Howard Payton and Wade Galiskewi, whose his English name is Ryan Mackey. But they really pushed hard to go out into the communities and try and get a good, accurate head count of Cherokee speakers that were out in the community. And the number they came up with was a little over 2,300. And this was a few years ago. Yeah. So I remember going into Howard's office, and he said, "Here, take a look at this." And he passed me over. It was a big set of papers, and it had a binder on it. And he said, "Look through there and tell me if every Cherokee speaker that you can think of is on that list. And I started looking through there, and I started going, because I was thinking, they probably don't have, so-and-so on there, or they're probably missing people from this community. But as I went through and I looked, every single name was on there. Now, what I ended up doing was saying, okay, now this is her maiden name. And now this person that you have on here, they're actually deceased. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up doing was, for my community and for the people that I knew, I ended up helping them kind of make sure that the list was accurate. Yeah. And they weren't just doing this with me. They were doing it with lots of people. Yeah. And so I felt like the number they arrived at was very, very reliable. So of that, 2,300, and there were even people from outside of Oklahoma, from our satellite communities as well, from Cherokee Nation satellite communities. And so of that number, all of them were over the age of 50. And so if you kind of look almost like if you were to graph it out, you would see the largest number of people were 60, 70, and then of course the number kind of, the population, the demographics of it kind of drop down a little bit. So you kind of have these thin tails, and then with the majority of your speakers being, in their 60s and in their 70s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that lets us know that we have a serious problem. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that if we don't take immediate action, our language may not be spoken in another 20, 30, 40 years.
That's a big.
It's huge. Yeah. And so what I'm really thankful to sit on a couple of different committees within Cherokee Nation where they're bringing people together from throughout the community, and people who are educators who care about language revitalization, because we call it language revitalization, not preservation, and we don't want to preserve it or document it and put it in a box. We want to use it. We want it to live. We want it to grow. Yeah. And so that's why we use the term language revitalization.
Because you want to teach the other the future generations the language as well.
Do you speak?
I do not. I know some of it.
You should put her on.
But I don't. I do not speak it.
Do you have classes?
Oh, yeah, we do. We sure do. And there's community classes too, and online classes. We're trying to really reach people.
Enroll her in one of the classes.
We're trying to reach people where they're at.
Put you on the hot
seat. But one thing that I have found, and this is, I've always, as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to know more Cherokee language. Yeah. And when I was younger, I would do things like, I would try to teach myself the syllabary. I'd ask, how do you say this? How do you say that? And we didn't know back then that the very best thing you can do is immersion. So just having someone speak to you all the time in Cherokee. Yeah. And at that time when I was younger, that's when it would have worked best. Yeah. But we were fed this idea from, I would even say, not just the federal government, but also from kind of the communities around us, that the best thing you can do is speak English and speak English to your kids. Yeah. And there's this idea about language that you should only speak one language, when in reality, humans, we're built to be multilingual. Mm-hmm. And America has always been a multilingual place. Yeah. And there are people in other countries who grow up speaking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 languages. Mm-hmm. And their brains have more, they're faster at cognition and at thinking. And so the United States is really, the United States as a whole, in terms of their approach to non-English languages, we're really kind of outside of the global norm for being so pro-English, so English first, and several of our states have English only laws as well, including Oklahoma.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, when did you start to speak? Have you always spoken the Cherokee language as a child, or at what point did you start to speak? If you,
I always say, "Stick it, jalek jiwoni asen uskanolake kadeshkwa." So I say, I speak a little bit of Cherokee, but I'm learning slowly. And then usually I'll say, "Daganeltani." I'm always trying. I will always be trying. Or I'll say, I will be standing strong. Because I don't call myself a speaker. I call myself a learner. Because in our Cherokee communities, if you say you're a speaker, most people will think that's the first language you grew up with. And so I did grow up. My mom will say, "Well, you did grow up speaking Cherokee first," but I don't think I did. I think my mom is remembering things very, very kindly on my behalf. She did say that whenever I started school, they were worried about me being behind because they felt like I didn't speak good enough English. So everybody at that point in time stopped speaking Cherokee to me and made sure they were speaking English to me. And so I don't have any memories of using Cherokee language. And I've come into it as I've gotten older. But one thing I see with my students in the classroom is there are a lot of Cherokee citizens that feel very ashamed that they don't know more language. And that's one of the first things I do in the classroom is I start out with an immersion set where I'm doing all Cherokee, but I do it in a way so I'm communicating understanding with people. So they might not understand the word at first, or some people, they go, "Oh, I've heard that before, but I'm not sure exactly what it means." So I let them know on day one, my classroom is a safe space for you to be a learner. And if you encounter Cherokee speakers out in the community who don't make you feel safe as a learner, find someone else who does. Find someone who will support you as a learner, because learning is vulnerable. And learning, you have to admit that you don't know. You have to admit that I'm here to learn. And as adults, we're so used to being able to communicate. So when you're learning your mother tongue as Cherokee, as a Cherokee citizen, and you're making mistakes, it can almost make you feel like you're a bad Cherokee in some way. And nothing is further from the truth, because you're here and you're trying to learn your language. So that's great. I have to think that our ancestors see that, and it makes them happy. It makes them proud of us,
Well, and I know a lot of our elders only speak Cherokee. And so to even communicate with them, if you don't know it, you don't really, because some of them won't speak English or don't know how. And so you can't communicate with them if you don't know Cherokee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything that can be done on maybe federal or state level? Maybe a law that can be passed, or is there anything that can be done to help with not preserving, what would it do, revitalizing, the Cherokee language?
Yeah, there definitely are some programs that are very beneficial. There are grant programs, and Cherokee Nation has been really, really aggressive in going out and applying for grant funding for Cherokee language and Cherokee language education. So I really, really commend them on what they've been doing in the language program. But of course, more can always be done. And one of the things, we're still, I'm thankful that I am fully vaccinated now, and that Cherokee Nation, through the outpatient health center, they're even vaccinating non-Indians at this point through the outpatient health center. But we lost a lot of Cherokee speakers to COVID as well, because COVID impacted people who had if they were immunocompromised or if they were diabetic, and several, we have a lot of people in our speaker population who are in those categories, who are very elderly, who are, elderly elders. And then, their, diabetes within Native American communities is extremely high, as are some other health conditions like high blood pressure and things like that, which we now know, COVID impacts people who have those conditions at a more severe rate.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of tribal people. And, they like the tribe. I've worked with ICW on my job and stuff, but your passion for the tribe is real.
Yeah.
It's very strong. It's contagious. Like, I hear you talk about how you learned the language, how you were self-taught to weaving. Like, you can practically take a hold of your passion. Like, it's that tangible, it's that strong, it's that physical. How did you become so passionate about the tribe, like everything the tribe? Was there something what drives your passion for the tribe?
Oh, that's a really good question. What drives my passion? For me, it really was. So I was brought up, the first place I went to school was Cherokee Nation Head Start right here in Tahlequah.
Wow.
And then,
were you born in Tahlequah?
No, I was not born in Tahlequah. My father, his name's Edwin McLemore. He was actually in the military, and he was stationed in Lawton. And so I was actually born there in Lawton. But my earliest memories are, I remember going to school at Briggs, and Dorothy Dreadful Water Ice was the bus driver, and she would drop me off at the weaving shop where my grandpa, Rogers McLemore, he was a Cherokee National Treasure for loom weaving as well. Yeah. But she would drop me off there at the shop, and I remember watching him loom weave. So I got to experience that with my dad's dad. Yeah. And then my mom's mom and dad, I called them Edude. And so Edude means my grandpa in Cherokee, and I call her Elise, and that means my grandma in Cherokee. And it seemed, and maybe because, I have so many Cherokee family members, it just felt like, I felt like I was just immersed in what it is to be Cherokee. Yeah. From family to, the way that we spent time together, the way that we got together. And we have these values in our Cherokee language, things like go visit someone and see if they need something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if someone in the community passed away, the first thing we did was start cooking. So that way we could take them food. Yeah. So they wouldn't have to worry about cooking for themselves as they were grieving. Yeah. Driving around and seeing, does someone have a chimney? If it's cold, does someone have a chimney and there's no smoke coming out of it? Well, let's take them some wood, those kinds of things. And it was just, in the summer, spending time with my family. The TV didn't come on until it was time to watch the news. The rest of the time we were talking, we were sitting on the porch, we were, outside doing things, working in the garden. And so it is, well, and I also, part of how I grew up was really closely tied to my family, to language, to these traditional cultural ways of, like I said, let's go visit them and see if they need something. Yeah. You don't wait on someone to ask for help. You go see if someone needs help. Yeah. And so that kind of being proactive in the community, I thought everybody was raised that way. I thought that's how everybody was raised. Yeah. And then when I went to college at the University of Oklahoma, for the first time, I met people who were Cherokee who didn't know where Tahlequah was.
Right.
Or, I met people who were Cherokee who hadn't had those experiences that I had.
And didn't know anything about the culture.
No, they didn't know anything about culture. They didn't know anything about language. And I would meet these students in my Cherokee language classes, because I took Cherokee language while I was at the University of Oklahoma with a gentleman named Bobby Blossom and a linguist named Laura Anderson. Yeah. And as I was in those classes and as I met those folks, we've got some folks in our Cherokee communities who look at those individuals who don't have those cultural connections and those language connections, and they kind of look down on them, or they kind of get judgmental about it. Yeah. But I really strongly believe that if you're Jawleg, that's enough. You have permission to. That is what gives you permission to learn. Jawleg. That means Cherokee.
Oh, okay. I wanted to let it slide, but I was like, no.
Yeah, the long way is Jawlegi, but a lot of people will say Jawleg.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you're Jawleg, that's your permission to learn. That's your permission to be a part of this community. And every Cherokee should have the right to be part of Cherokee community, and they should feel like they should be able to be part of Cherokee community, because we can't control how we were raised, and we can't control where we were raised. But once we get to a place where we can control what we do, then if you want to come home and if you want to learn about what it is to be part of Cherokee community, then doggone it, you should be able to. And so what drives my passion is I want us to have healthy communities, and I want other Cherokees to feel like they have a place in Cherokee Nation, and not just a place to survive, but a place to thrive. And I feel like that's what has guided me throughout my life, really.
You said a lot of things, but one of the things that you said, and I was like, wow, and I wish people was you can't control where you were raised or how you were raised. But once you grow to a point where you have some level of control over your life, you can then be able to control your life from that point moving forward. We've seen a lot of people who probably were raised in some situations that was not the best,
right?
And now they're older, and instead of taking control of their lives, they have just continued to live that mistake and use the past as an excuse for them to continue to make mistakes. And that probably lead me to the next question I want to ask. I'm here in Tahlequah, for example. The tribe is really big here, and one big thing is substance abuse.
Yes.
It has messed families up. It has separated kids from homes. I wanted to ask this question in relation to your campaign, because I know that you're going to, and we need good people in leadership positions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even the Bible talked about if good people don't lead, then the people would suffer.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? And do you have any ideas on how that can be addressed, or if you guys, there might be a program already that's probably looking into that. What's your thought?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. So substance abuse is definitely an epidemic. Yeah. I would say not just in Cherokee Nation, but I would say throughout Oklahoma, throughout Indian country.
Yeah.
One of the things I think that substance abuse has touched my own family. and it's something that, you know, I don't want to talk about anyone else's experiences, but one of the things that is true is that once an individual gets involved in substance abuse, there is a long road to recovery. I mean, there is a long road to recovery. And so those individuals need long-term care. You know, putting them into even a residential program that is a short-term residential program, and then they come right back out to the exact same situation.
Same
you know,
environment, same people.
Same environment, same people, the same pain that they were not able to deal with in that situation. You know, I feel like I bring everything back to language, but one of the things that I have seen, and, you know, I've seen this on a firsthand basis, and oftentimes when I start talking to people, they get really emotional. I get really emotional reactions from people when I talk about this, is that,
you have paper towel, just in case.
well, oftentimes, so there is historical trauma within the Cherokee Nation, among Cherokee people, you know, and I understand there are people who will say that, you know, the Trail of Tears happened in 1838, 1839. That was a long time ago. However, that trauma that impacted our community. You know, we lost a quarter of our people, and the people who we lost, it was our elders and it was our babies. When you look at the ages of the people who were lost. So we lost a tremendous amount of cultural knowledge in that moment. And as those people were trying to work and trying to heal, then shortly after that, we see the Civil War come to Cherokee Nation. And the Civil War was incredibly divisive, and it was incredibly, I mean, it was also a moment of trauma for our people. Then we see that followed up by allotment, and another moment of trauma for Cherokee Nation and for Cherokee people. So even though you can say the Trail of Tears happened a long time ago, well, we are still geographically separated as a people. And so we have these cycles of trauma that we have survived, and we're still here, and we still carry on our ways of being Cherokee. So then there's intergenerational trauma, where you see, you know, you see domestic abuse, you see those kinds of things that are happening in our families. And so you even see a person who, you know, they're not continuing that cycle of abuse, but what they're doing is they're modeling survival behaviors. So your caregiver, your most intimate person who you observe on a day in, day out basis, that person is modeling survival behavior. Or there is an individual who is still in the home who, you know, is an abusive person. And so, you know, we have these, and I know there's not just fight or flight, but there's that stress response when you encounter trauma. And that's something that's, you know, evolutionary. You know, we see a bear in the woods, you know, your stress and your cortisol like kicks up. But what happens when the bear comes home every night? You know, and so when we're looking at substance abuse, when we're looking at things like opioid addiction, oftentimes those things are symptoms of other things that are happening within the community, within the family, within that individual. There's some kind of a pain that they're trying to deal with that, so within my campaign platform, one of the things that I included in there was health and wellness. And I'm not just meaning physical health. I'm also meaning emotional health. I'm meaning mental health. And I really believe that language is an indicator of community health. I really also see when there are individuals who are coming in to try and kind of reclaim their connection to Cherokee language, that oftentimes if the speaker in their family if there was some kind of an abusive dynamic that happened, because, you know, that person experienced abuse as well. And then they were continuing that cycle of abuse. Yeah. So when that person starts reaching out and pulling that language toward them, they're also pulling toward them these memories of trauma and abuse sometimes that are things that they may not have dealt with. So, and even if they're not dealing with that, oftentimes as people become more culturally aware, and that's what language is doing, you know, it's helping you become more culturally aware. They also become closer to those historic traumas that they may not have known that much about. So you almost need, I would almost say, and I've heard of this from other programs, other language education programs, that they offer counseling right along with language education, because people are bringing themselves closer in a lot of ways to these things that they need to deal with. So
we're going to go into your campaign, and I'll let Jennifer ask you about your campaign and all that stuff. But before she does that, I want to ask you, and it can be a delicate question.
Okay.
You know,
I'm getting ready.
You mentioned the historical trauma and all the things that happened. If you look at, for example, with slavery and using Tulsa here with the Black Wall Street and all that happened, people could have forgiven, but most times it's hard to forget. So with the history of what happened, you know, with the US and the tribe and the killings and all that stuff, and then now the tribe probably has a pretty good relationship with the US on federal level and stuff, but is there still some pain? How is that? If someone hurts me, I want to explain myself. If someone hurts me, like I can really forgive you, but I might not. There will still be some crack somewhere in our relationship.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so is there?
It's like you're trying to say, is there cracks in that relationship between? Between.
Like, is there still some hatred? Is there still some bitterness, some resentment?
Yeah.
That's the word. Is there still some resentment that the tribe probably has because of
that's interesting.
Happened?
Well, what I would say is that Cherokee Nation has been an incredibly good partner. Cherokee Nation, and I would say this also about the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians as well, who are located there in North Carolina. I would say that also about the United Kituah Band of Cherokee Indians of Oklahoma, located here in Tahlequah as well, that all three federally recognized Cherokee governments have been incredibly good partners for their communities. You see great economic impact. You see, especially in Oklahoma, that indigenous nations are one of the top employers in the state of Oklahoma collectively as a whole. So, you know, and I've heard, I think it was a former, gosh, I can't remember what position he held, but Enoch Kelly Haney, who said, you know, we're all kind of in the same boat. So what good is it going to do for me to drill a hole in your side? And I think, and I believe it was also Kelly Haney who I heard once say, you know, we've moved once, we don't want to move again. And it's kind of making light of that situation of relocation. And it was really the kind of genocide of the Eastern Seaboard where they were trying to clear all the tribes out. So resentment, I think that there is still a lot of things that are unresolved. And one of the things that I would point to is we have a delegate to the U.S. Congress who has been appointed. Her name is Tehee. We are not actually related.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, she's a dear friend of mine, but we are not actually related. And she has worked at the national level in politics for a very long time. And she has a lot of great experience. But she has been appointed as the Cherokee Nation delegate to Congress, but she is yet to be seated. And so this was a treaty right that is written into an agreement between Cherokee Nation and the United States. So when you ask me the question, are there cracks? Are there resentments? What I think about is these unresolved promises on the part of the United States toward Cherokee Nation, despite Cherokee Nation, the UKB, and the Eastern Band all being fantastic partners in economic impact. And, we uphold our side of our agreement. Now, what about you? So I wouldn't necessarily say it was resentment, but we definitely believe that, treaties are legally binding agreements, and that is something that we want to see upheld. So that's definitely one thing that I think about.
How much faith do you have that those treaties would eventually be upheld?
I think it would be a huge step in acknowledging and affirming those legally binding treaties to seat Kim Tehee as our delegate to Congress. I think that would be a huge step, and that's something that I would really love to see happen. As far one of the things I think that we have been shown in within the past year, especially with the Supreme Court decision regarding McGirt, is that our Supreme Court, meaning the U.S. Supreme Court, will say these treaty obligations, I think it was Justice Gorsuch, who said, there was a promise at the end of the trail, and I can't remember the rest of that line, but it reestablished reservations here in Oklahoma, and it gave criminal jurisdiction in some capacities back to tribal courts, and so what we are seeing that in some places tribal sovereignty is being affirmed, and so I think that's something that we are all hopeful about, but there's still more to be done. There's still more to be done.
Well, the campaign.
Okay, we're going to talk about your campaign a little bit. So you are running for tribal council for District 2. What are you talked about one of your platforms was health, and what are some other platforms that you're running with your campaign?
Okay, yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. So I have a few different kind of platform pieces, and one of, I would say, the center planks in my platform would really be education. I believe that every Cherokee citizen should be able to access higher education or vocational education. And so, I've mentioned before that my mom was, a single parent, and that there were 4 of us, and we were growing up here in Tahlequah. Well, we were poor. I mean, there's no other way to say it. We were really poor. I remember, at some points in my life where I had, 1 pair of shoes and I had 2 pairs of jeans, and we didn't have a washer in the apartment where we lived. So we would either have to, wash them out by hand or just kind of do what we could, And so when I say we were poor, we were poor. And, my mom, she wanted to provide for us. She wanted to take care of us. And one of the things that she found was that she could get a licensed practical nursing certification through what was then the Bill Willis Skills Center.
Oh, yeah.
And now I think it's Indian Capital Technology Center. But back then it was Bill Willis Skills Center. And it used to be over on, I think it's 4th Street.
Yeah, 4th Street.
Used to be right off 4th Street. And so she started taking classes there to become an LPN. And as she was taking those classes, see, my mom has always been someone who loves to help people. She's always, if I remember when we were younger, if we were walking and we saw someone fall down, she immediately was like, "Oh, are you okay? Can I help you? What can I do for you? Are you sure you're okay? Can I help you up?" And so as she was taking these classes, and she's learning really specific ways to help and care for people, I saw her confidence level rise. And she would come home and she would tell me about the classes that she was taking and the people in her classes and the things that she was learning, whether it was like learning how to properly take off your gloves so that way you don't like contaminate yourself and stuff like that. The things that she was learning in class. I remember helping her study, and it was seeing her really come alive, because she had found a passion. And that was when I knew education's transformative. And so I don't think it has to be higher education. It can be any type of education that you want, but if it helps put you on the path that is going to make you the person you want to be and give you that kind of pride in what you do and that pride in self, I want to help you do that.
Right.
I want to put a program in place that's going to help you do that. And I'm also an educator. And when I'm in the classroom and I see my students get it, I see that moment of connection in their eyes, especially in language classes where maybe they say a sentence in Cherokee for the first time and they didn't realize they could put those words together, or they figure out how to ask a question, or, those kinds of things, or they figure out how to say, how to make something a negative, like osta is good, but tlaost yiki is not good. So once they get these things figured out and you see those connections, you see them making those connections.
Like the light bulb.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And that's why, I keep coming back to teach. That's why I love teaching people. And so I think everyone should be able to access that moment, whether you're talking about, vocational ed, whether you're talking about higher ed, no matter what it is you're talking about, I think people have the right to access that. And I want to help our Cherokee citizens do that.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Ahead. Yeah.
Okay. On the issues you want to address with your campaign, you had 6 main points. You had education, you had language and culture, family, communication, health and wellness, and then arts.
Yes.
Do you intend to carry all of the 6, attack them at the same time, or do you have a scale? Which ones you go first? Which ones come second? How do you plan to address all of these issues?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. So, I think of course it's going to have to be you can't do everything at once.
Right. And
one of the other things too that I think is important to remember is that on tribal council, a tribal counselor is one of 17. So I'm going to have to build relationships. I'm going to have to make sure that, I understand how things work. Yeah. I want to be a tribal counselor who will actually write legislation in committee. I think our tribal council, that would benefit all tribal citizens if our tribal counselors write their own legislation in committee. So that's something that I would like to see. That's something that I want to do, something I'm excited to do. I did not run for tribal council to support or to oppose any one individual. I'm running to represent the people of District 2 and to serve the people of District 2. And whatever the District 2 citizens want is what I want to do. I want to make that happen for them. And so I have chosen these key issues because I see the needs in our community. I see the needs also not just in our community, but in Oklahoma as a whole. I want to see the Oklahoma citizenry and the Cherokee citizenry be educated. And educated in the manner they want to be educated. You know, like I said, whether it's higher ed or vocational ed. I want to see a Cherokee nation where it's not only Cherokee citizens who are speaking Cherokee, but we also see local business owners speaking Cherokee because they have to serve Cherokee citizens.
Right.
Our contractors, whether they're Cherokee or not, I want them speaking Cherokee. You know, that's the Cherokee nation I want to see. And so, all of these are long-term things that are going to require cooperation of other tribal counselors to make happen. It's it's definitely not, it's going to take all of us to make these kinds of things happen. One of the things that I would like to do, I wouldn't say the very first thing, but one of the things I'd like to do early on, once I am on tribal council, I'll say that and manifest it, right?
Yeah, you will.
Put that energy out into the world.
You had it here first. She will.
One of the things I would like to do is see the establishment of a Cherokee Arts Commission, because for some reason in the United States, there are a lot of people who like to claim they are Cherokee, but they don't actually have any lineal descent. They don't actually have any connection to Cherokee communities. And, I don't want to name names, but there are a lot of people who, the term for this is really ethnic fraud. There are a lot of people who are doing that. And so we have the Indian Arts and Crafts Act, which protects people who make tangible items. So if you make a tangible item and you say it's native made, then you have to be a citizen of either a federally recognized tribe or a state recognized tribe. But it doesn't protect media. It does not protect literature. It does not protect, so it really protects tangible items. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if we were to establish a Cherokee Arts Commission in cooperation with the United Keetoowah Band and with the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and identify our own citizens who are engaged in these fields, these creative fields, in the performing arts, in the creation of 2D and 3D art, and people who are writing both scholarly and creatively. And we say, these are our citizens who are doing this work in these fields. So if anyone has a question, is this a Cherokee person or not? They have a resource, they have a database that they can go and look to. And now this isn't going to solve the problem of ethnic fraud, but I think if we highlight and we celebrate our own citizens who are doing these things, it will be a step in the right direction until the Indian Arts and Crafts Act can be expanded to cover these other fields. Then I think that and it doesn't cover music or anything like that. And that's, our citizens, I think, need that recognition, and they need extended protections. But until then, I think the establishment of a Cherokee Arts Commission with a searchable database of citizens of all three of the Cherokee governments would be a good start.
Yeah, definitely.
This is your first office, right? You're running for?
Yes. Well, unless you count in college when I would run for office in the American Indian Student Association. But yes,
big time. This is the first one. Yeah. So this is my question: what's the goal? Are you going for chief?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, this is the first one, right? And I mean, you're very driven. So what's the goal? Where's Candessa going to?
Oh, gosh. Well, I will say that whenever I started this campaign, my goal was really to bring Cherokee values to tribal council.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that there aren't individuals on tribal council who live their lives according to Cherokee values. I'm saying that I want to be another person on tribal council with Cherokee values. Yeah. We have 4 sacred pillars. We're always supposed to love one another. We're always supposed to like one another. We're supposed to hold on to one another. And then that where we're supposed to treat one another as sacred.
That's so cool.
And I think if we bring that philosophy and if we bring that mindset, which is, I mean, these are also Christian values too. Yeah. That's how, I think if we bring those things to our government and to our policy making and to our programs, then it's going to benefit our citizens. Yeah. And so, that's the reason I came into this campaign. And I also think it's really important to have people who prioritize Cherokee language on council as well. And I know that Kanan Duncan is not seeking re-election. He was the only real Cherokee language learner who was on council. Yeah. And I know that Joe Bird was rotating off as he was termed out, and he's a Cherokee speaker, a fluent Cherokee speaker. And so I wanted to step up and serve on tribal council to help make sure that language continues to be a priority. And so I'm really focused on, I was focused on June 5th. And luckily, I prevailed, and now I'm in the runoff, which is taking place on July 24th. So the next thing I'm focused on is July 24th. Yeah. And the only, as far as what's next, I want to win this. I want to win this election, and I'm not trying to. I don't necessarily think, oh gosh, in this many years, I want to run for this next office, because it's never been my intention to really be a politician. Yeah. But what I did when I knew Joe Bird was terming out was I kind of looked around and I heard some rumors, this person's thinking about running, that person's thinking about running. And I thought to myself, well, I could do a good job. I could serve Cherokee people. Yeah. I could serve Cherokee communities. I've been pretty neutral, pretty middle of the road in terms of Cherokee politics, and I think that I can be independently minded, and I can do good research. I can listen to citizens, and I can do the job. Yeah. I think I'm qualified. I can do the job. Yeah. And so that's really where my goal is. That's really what I'm thinking about. Yeah. And I keep saying, God will not let an opportunity for you pass you by. Yeah. And so if this is on my path, then if God has this on my path, then it's going to be for me.
I think it does, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I don't.
The passion is there.
I don't want to say. I don't want to say there's no other person better, because I'm sure there's lots of wonderful people. You mentioned people that are terming out already, and people that are. Yeah. But you 1,000% deserve to, because it's good to have all the knowledge and the wealth that you have, but if you are in that position, then you can also be able to do more to help community and help other people, So, so I'll say this: not if you win, when you win, do we get invited to the party?
Of course, absolutely.
I like that. I like how you threw that in there.
I put her on the spot.
You did.
We get invited to the party when she wins. Absolutely. I really feel like you will.
We will have a fun victory party, and everybody's invited.
All right. Hey, Candessa, it's just no, I missed one thing. National Treasure 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 2019 you became a national treasure for Cherokee Nation.
Yes.
What's that?
Oh my gosh. So the National Treasure Program was actually originally started. It was, my understanding is that it was originally started through the Cherokee Heritage Center, and Chief Wilma Mankiller immediately was, very, very supportive of the program. Yeah. It was originally started as, I believe, the Lost Arts Program, and it was set to feature artists who were doing things that nobody else was doing anymore. So whether you're talking about bow making or flint knapping or basketry, and especially river cane basketry, finger weaving, loom weaving, all of these things that seem to be kind of falling by the wayside. There weren't as many people who were kind of practicing these traditional Cherokee arts. And so they established this program, and they inducted a whole bunch of people in those first few years. And one of them was my grandfather, Rogers McLemore, for loom weaving. And so since those early days, and then at one point in time, they used to call them living treasures. Well, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of our treasures have passed away. Some really, really wonderful people. Durbin Feeling was a former, Durbin Chigesan. It means his time has passed. He was a Cherokee language teacher for me when I was he taught me at the University of Oklahoma. And I love Durbin, but he passed away. And so now the program has become Cherokee National Treasures, and they usually induct anywhere from 2 to 4 every single year. And there's an application process. Well, not an application process. It's a nomination process. And so I was very lucky that my friend, Luke Wassam, approached me, and he's also a finger weaver, and he's much younger than I am, but we connected because we're both artists and both finger weavers. And he said, "You should be a Cherokee National Treasure." And I said, "Oh, now come on," which at the time I'd already been finger weaving for 20 years. Oh, wow. Well, for 19 years at that time. And he nominated me, and he got some letters of reference for me, and he borrowed a belt that I had made and submitted that on my behalf. And they invited me in for an interview to ask me some questions about my artwork and things like that. And it just felt like a conversation, because in my mind I thought, well, there's no way they're gonna choose me. So I have nothing to lose. No pressure, no worries. And so, in the interview process, we just kind of sat and we talked and everything. And then I got a call, and they said, "Hey, you've been selected." And I'm the first finger weaver who has been inducted as a national treasure since Maddie Drum in, I think it was 1990. And so almost 30 years, there have only been 2 finger weavers inducted, and I was one. And I always try to mention Maddie Drum's name. But yeah, it was an honor. And I still consider it to be one of the greatest honors, outside of being a mom,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, good to have you. I'm sorry, that was my phone.
Oh, no problem.
So, okay, we'll play a game. It's a quick one.
Oh gosh, okay.
And it's just this or that. You probably know what it is.
This or that. No, I've never played this or that.
It's just a simple
So we're
way.
going to ask you, we're going to say, give you some words or whatever, choices. Like first one, pancakes or waffles.
See, I feel like I have to sit up.
It's going to get intense.
I know.
You have two options, and you just tell us which one you prefer.
Okay. So like pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Okay.
Cat or dog?
Cat. I love dogs too, but cat, I just get cats, man. Really? Because we have a cat at home, and dogs need a lot of attention, but cats are kind of like
independent.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Phone call or text?
Oh, text. Which I do
Same.
like. I do like talking on the phone, but
Yeah.
if I have a choice,
Yeah. TV or book?
Oh goodness, book. Yeah.
Man, I wish I could say book too, but it has to be TV, man.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's an audio book though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, audiobook will work for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram. People are so much nicer.
Very true. Movie at home or movie in the theater?
Movie in the theater. I love I really enjoy watching movies.
Yeah.
And especially, I like all kinds of movies, but I really do like seeing a movie on the big screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Movie or music?
Ooh, that is tough. I love all kinds of music. I'm always listening to some kind of music. Music.
Okay, so honesty or others' feelings?
Oh, probably others' feelings. Gosh,
It's a hard one.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough one. I think that there's always a way to be kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's always a way
Absolutely.
to be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Ocean,
She's Android.
ocean or mountains?
Mountains.
Cake or pie?
Ooh, pie.
Card game or board game?
Card game.
What's your favorite card game?
My favorite card game,
Yeah.
Solitaire. Now to
good
play like what's it called? Gin rummy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's that? I don't know.
It's a card game.
Yeah, it's a card game.
Would you prefer to leave in
Or
a-
no, wait, spoons. That's my favorite
Yeah, spoons
card
is
game.
cool too.
Spoons.
Yeah, it's
I have
intense,
to
though.
take that back
Yeah.
because my friends, they'll go,
Oh,
how
it
dare
gets
you not
intense.
say spoons?
Yeah.
We have a game night occasionally, and the spoons have gotten so intense
Yeah,
that
spoons can get
well,
intense.
my friend Teresa Eagle Miller, her finger got broken during spoon.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, spoons can get very intense. So.
Yeah.
Man, it's gotten intense. at
Super
our family.
competitive.
Yeah. Living in the country or city?
Well, currently I live in the city and I like it a lot. But Tahlequah, like it's the city, but we regularly see deer, and a lady on a horse go by our house. So I'm not sure how cityfied we really are, you know?
Yeah, but that's really cool though. A house.
My daughter says our town is, like 80% yeehaw.
I mean, even right here, this is kind of like country city too, because I don't know.
We're right outside city limits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on the line.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to get goats.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so next one, dine-in or delivery?
Ooh. Delivery.
Yeah, jogging or hiking.
Hiking.
So when sleeping, fan or no fan?
Fan.
Online shopping or shopping in store.
Ooh. Online shopping.
Working alone or working in a team?
Working in a team.
Would you prefer to drive or fly?
I like to drive. I'm the kind of person who will say, well, it's only a 14-hour drive. Why fly?
That's me. That's me. Hey, Candessa. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, spend some time with us.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Jennifer.
Nice to meet you
And it's
too.
always good to see Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah,
It was
thank you.
fun.
I feel like I learned a lot about the
I learned a lot
tribe.
too. I mean, I knew a lot about the
yeah.
tribe, but I even learned more
Yeah.
things.
And
For sure.
the runoff is on the 25th.
On
20
July 24th.
July 24th.
Yes.
Guys, it's not just about campaigning for anybody, because I know her son and all that stuff. It's about having a worthy person in that position, someone that we know would serve and would help move the right ideologies for the tribe forward. And I have no doubt 150% that Dr. Candessa Tehee is the person to do it. So guys, let's go out on the 24th of July. Please, you guys go vote because I want to go for that party. I really want to go for that party. So please, you guys go out, go vote on the 24th of July. Let's vote Candessa Tehee into office. Yes. Yeah, let's vote Candessa Tehee. Guys, also please subscribe, like on our Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, pages. Please go support what we're doing. And so as you step out, let's spread some love, spread some hope, and be kind to someone today and this week. We will see you guys in the next episode of the Grow Podcast. It's Jennifer Jones. It's me, your host, Daniel Anele. And it's the very, very special, smart, what should I use? Beautiful, mother of 3, hardworking, Cherokee speaking, Dr. Candessa Tehee. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. No matter what stage of life you are in, one thing that should never stop is growing. There is always room to grow and be better. We want to share your story and celebrate your journey so far. This is the Grow Podcast, where we share growth stories and hope to inspire people towards their personal growth.